Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Plan B Success Episode 3. Today, we're going to talk about leadership. Today, we're going to talk about leaders, followers, what makes a leader click, what makes a follower click, and how do leaders bring a team of followers together in order to achieve their productive best. That's what we're going to discuss today. Now, I'm sure you have heard more than once that every individual is unique. Yes, everyone is. You're unique, I'm unique, and everybody that you or I know of is a unique individual. The heart buttons of each one of us are very different. However, we all aspire for us to come together as teams and organizations in order to pursue goals, objectives that are much larger than our individual selves. So, as an organization or a company that you work for, or as an entrepreneur, a company that you're building, you expect people to come together, different individuals who can do different things, to come together, work together as a team in order to be at their productive best, in order to take that organization forward, since the mission of the organization is much larger than any one individual who's working as a part of that organization or a part of one of the teams of that organization. Now, some people tend to do it better than the others, whereas others are out there because they have different heart buttons, so that the levels of productivity, the levels of focus on achievement of object tends to vary from person to person. While we all work together towards common objectives, there are multiple threads and hard buttons that need to be managed at the team and the individual levels. And that's up to the leaders in order to recognize what these hard buttons are for the different individuals that comprise a team and be able to work on them and leverage them to the benefit of the individuals as well as to the collective benefit of the team. That ultimately constitutes leadership, and its varying degrees of efficiency. Different leaders have different degrees of efficiency, and that degree of efficiency determines how successful or how healthy that organization is going to be in its mission. Now, the premise of leadership is founded on the universal notion that a leader can motivate individuals, energize them to go from their current state, the state that they're in at this moment or today, to a desired state, a state that you would like to see them in order to be able to perform at optimal productivity. Mind you, I'm not saying at maximum productivity, but optimal productivity is what you can push different individuals to get to in order to extract that productivity in terms of the team performance or the organizational performance. However, to do that, any capable leader needs to understand what motivates these individuals and how to bring them together as a team, understanding what those individual motivational needs are, and the leader should be able to work on them. Different people have different motivational needs. For some, it's money. For some, it's working for that particular organization or that team. For some, it's the domain that the organization is in. Perhaps it's technology, perhaps it's machine learning, perhaps it is rocket science. For some, it is basically the position, the designation, the power, the influence that they can wield with that particular designation. For some, it's building a better life for their family. So different people have different motivational needs. Some are personal, some are professional, and different motivational needs tend to be higher than the other motivational needs for a particular individual. And it's the job of any leader to recognize these and be able to help tap into them, work on them with the individual so that the individuals benefit, and as a result of that benefit, they're motivated to perform as a part of the team at optimal productivity. That's what team leadership is all about. That's what individual leadership is all about. Now, it should be a prerogative of every manager to understand their individual team members, to understand what their motivational needs are, and to be able to tap into them and act on them in order to bring the common objectives and their achievement of the team into focus. Now, the goal is achievement of team objectives, but it cannot be done until individual motivational needs are influenced, are worked on by both the individual as well as the leader of the team. Now, without intervening at the individual level, the optimal productivity that we've been talking about, and more importantly, the willingness of the entire team or every individual in the team in order to pursue those common objectives of the team or the organization at the highest levels is just not possible. And that's important for managers and leaders at various levels within an organization to understand that and to be able to assimilate that and then bring back the focus on individual needs in order to meet team objectives of productivity. While we all have finite time and energy to do a multitude of tasks, obviously we are always multitasking, we do different things, different expectations are there for us in different roles, different positions. One important aspect of management is the ability to interact with teams, not just teams, but also its individual constituents. Without working on the individuals, there's no team, and the team doesn't come together to be at its productive best until the individuals are willing to contribute towards the team. Many a time, what happens is these individuals themselves do not have a clear understanding of what their own motivational needs are. Now, to think that somebody knows exactly what makes them tick is also a problem because not everybody is at the same level. Some people want to do the work, but they don't know what they want for their individual selves, what makes them tick. And that's where there's a need for somebody to work with them as a mentor. So, in order to clarify what their own motivational needs are for these individuals, and in order to also help them grow at the individual level. Mind you, what I say is a mentor who can help individuals identify their own needs and help them focus on fulfilling those needs. In turn, helping them grow as individuals, mature as individuals, and clarifying their entire thought process of what do they really want for themselves. Now, external motivation has its limitations. When you talk about money, or when you talk about position, or when you talk about a corner office, all of these are external motivational factors, but they have their own limitations. And the focus should be on awakening the internal factors of motivation for the individual, the fire within. How do you ignite that fire within an individual? How do you show them that what they're working towards is much larger than them and demands a certain amount of work or input from them? And how do you constantly keep it motivated? The external motivational factors that we talked about, they might keep them happy for a period of time. But after the passage of a certain period of time, they tend to wither away. And now the next level of external motivation comes into play. For somebody, let's say, who's working at about 60K in terms of a salary, maybe about a year later, they want more. They want to maybe get to 70 or 80K, and they will not have the same level of motivation at the same salary level. You start giving them 3% increases, maybe it'll go a little bit further, but it won't really bring out the best in them each time. So that's what external motivation does. But internal motivation, if they're learning something, if they're being mentored, if there's something that is that they're thirsting for internally in terms of, let's say, knowledge or something that they're pursuing internally, and if you can ignite that, and if they learn more as a result of the work that they do and it takes them to that next level, then that's something that you got to ignite in order to keep itself self-burning within the individuals. Now, awakening internal factors of motivation for the individual and igniting that spark within them to have them act on their own needs, that's what needs to happen. A leader's job is to ignite that spark so that an individual is motivated enough internally to work on their own needs consistently and constantly in order to achieve it for themselves, and they don't need an external motivator all the time, or they don't need a mentor all the time. A mentor's job is to show the way to where they need to go because they've already been down that path, or because they know exactly how to get there to that next level, but then expect the individual to act on their own needs in order to get to that next level. It's like giving a person a fish or teaching them to fish. You teach them to fish, they'll eat for life. You give them fish today, then they're done today. The next day they want somebody to give them the fish again. So that's exactly the analogy here. Now, the best form of motivation, however, is inspiration. If the leader embraces the principles they spout, that's the best way of doing it. If you're a leader and whatever you're teaching, or whatever you're spouting, or whatever you're pontificating, whatever you expect from your team, if you imbibe that yourself, if you act in ways which kind of are on the same track as to what you speak, which show people that you embrace what you preach, it goes a long way in inspiring others. If you say one thing and do one thing, then you might still get something out of it, but you're not that great a leader. But if you do what you say yourself, there's immediate respect that your followers will have for you. They get inspired because you say what you do what you say, and then they start looking up to you and they respect you, they love to follow you, and because they want to reflect themselves as better people. They want to reflect you within them because they're following you, they respect you, they're getting inspired by you, and that's why inspiration is so powerful when you embrace what you say. Now, you have to note that a leader cannot actively try and inspire someone. Inspiration is not like an injection that you give to somebody and then boom, next moment they're inspired. You can work on them, you can work on people over a period of time to move that inner compass in them in order to do what they need to do. But it is for that other individual to get inspired themselves. Inspiration is like a flame that that is flickering inside, right? So you are the one who's putting the flame as a leader in a person, and it's flickering inside, and then you expect the person to be able to maintain that flame inside of them by consistently feeding themselves with the right kind of knowledge and then acting that knowledge out in order to always stay inspired. Hence, leaders can do themselves a big favor by not always focusing on external motivation for their teams and its individuals, but embracing ideals that they would like to propagate within the cultural fabric of their team as well as organization. That's why it's so important for you to follow what you say, because that will motivate a lot more people a lot more quickly than you trying to work with each one of them in order to get them to where you need them to be. Now, when you do this, when you're actually focused on the internal motivating factors for individuals, and then you imbibe the principles that you preach, then these will find a way of spreading throughout the team and from one team to the other throughout the organization as inspiration. And inspiration allows willing changes that individuals will make. They'll make these changes individually in how they act, how they behave, and purely because they believe, they start believing in it, number one. Number two, out of respect for you as a leader, a mentor, and because they see you doing what you preach, and they see the need for themselves to be in that same frame as they look up to you now as their leader. A leader's effectiveness is determined by the inspiration they can invoke within their team. You're as effective as the inspiration that you can invoke within the team. You're as effective as your team, your band of individuals that you've put on one path to achieve the team's universal goals, but you have worked on these individuals because they all have different inspirational needs, different motivational needs. So you not only know the team well, but you know the individuals within the team well as an effective leader. Now, a key aspect that leaders need to take note of is that not all individuals are made equal. We talked about this before. Not everyone is equal. Everyone has different motivational needs, different kinds of motivational needs. Some are motivated to do probably the minimum for a paycheck. Some are just doing enough to hold their job, while others are stretching themselves, are really motivated internally in order to put in their productive best. Now, a team is comprised of all of these different kinds of individuals. So no matter how much you work on different people and their different motivational needs, you have people performing at different levels because of how motivated they are. Like I said, some just want to keep the paycheck, some just want to hold on to their job, some want to do the bare minimum, while some want to really stretch it out and be at their productive best. All of these people together come together as a team, and then they are the ones performing as a team. Now, inspiration may not awaken in some of the people that I talked about, such as those working for a paycheck or just to hold on to their job by doing the bare minimum, due to multiple personal complexities. They could have other things happening in their lives. They could have other things that are kind of taken a precedence over their internal motivational needs, and different people are at different levels of motivation. And it becomes important for a leader to recognize that and understand that the team is made of individuals with varying levels of motivation. And as a leader, it's their job to ensure that this mix of people doesn't affect the team's objectives in a detrimental way. So you have an entire team and its objectives need to be met, and you have a mix of different kinds of people, some not so motivated, some really motivated, some somewhere in the middle. And your job is to get optimal productivity out of them as a team in order to reach the team's objectives in an optimal manner. Mind you, you will always do your best as a leader to be the one who's achieving the team's objectives best way possible and at the best level possible. But the goal is, although it's the best, optimal is the word again, in order to get to those team's objectives. The key is to work with these individuals who are feeling engaged in those roles, for they are the ones who are going to push the team farther because they have the freedom to be creative and express themselves. That's the other thing a leader needs to do. You need to be able to give them the creativity to think outside the box and express themselves through their work in the best ways possible. If you give that to each of the individuals on your team, you're more likely to reach farther in your team's goals than the bare minimum or an average. While setting an example and inspiring individuals is the highest tenet that a leader should hold themselves accountable to, communication is also a two-way street. So it's important to listen to the feedback and act on it. While you're the ones as a leader who's telling your team and the members what to do and how to do, you should be open to listening to them as well. Remember, listening is a big skill, and we'll talk about it in one of the future episodes. But listening, no matter who the person is, no matter what they have to say, is a key aspect of being a successful leader. When you listen, you learn. You learn from the individuals, you learn from the team as to what's working, what's not working, what to tweak, how to change in order to get the team back on track to be at their productive best. So it's important to listen to what the team members have to say. They are the ones who are actually doing the job. It's important to understand their feedback, be able to take things from that feedback and act on them for the benefit of everyone involved. You're not acting on them just because you want to act on them and you expect to change, but you're acting on them. You're also passing a message down to the individuals in the team saying that they're being heard. You're also passing the message to the individuals that whatever they have to say, you're respecting it, and it's making an influence. They're having an influence on the team, and there are changes being made because of what they have to say. So they start feeling a part of the team. They start feeling influential. And as a result of the belongingness that they feel, it just motivates them, spurs them to do much better than where they are currently. And that's how the next generation of leaders are formed, by allowing them the creative freedom to act, by listening to them and their feedback, and by taking away salient points from that feedback and making that a part of the exercise to change the future action of the team, the future actions of individuals in a different path to just do it better. So that's what listening does. Remember, transparency, being transparent with your team members, not hiding anything, keeping it open is a very healthy practice. And then empowering the team members to unleash their creative freedom in their roles. All of this goes a long way in bolstering their attitudes, in motivating them internally, and getting the best out of them as individuals as well as a team. Now, caring for each other, caring and sharing, these are two things that I like to talk about. Caring for each other is finally the one aspect within a team of individuals that cements them together, that cements a great relationship between all of them, each of the team members, where no matter the challenge, no matter how lofty it is, they will all rise up together as individuals and as one team to take it on and become successful. That's what team leadership is all about. If you like what you hear, please be sure to subscribe. And if any of this information helps you, please make sure that you share it with others so they might benefit as well. If you'd like to know more about me, please visit www.rajeevmudumba.com. And for more episodes like this, please make sure you visit Plan B Success. Thank you.